What is the craziest transformation from someone at your high school? It was when I was a teenager. I was a short, kind of fat, nerdy kid with acne braces and long greasy hair like Kurt Cobain. For some effing reason I cannot as an adult fathom, I decided I wanted a perm to look like Gavin Rossdale. Except I was still a kind of fat kid with a kind of fat face. So I just looked like a fat kid with shitty, dirty curly hair. It was effing terrible. Now, before you hit reply and bang out the same bullshit that I hear all the time when I tell this story, everyone goes through an ugly duckling phase. You're no different. Hear me out. I was not your average ugly duckling turned swan. I was a 110th. I was effing hideous like girls wouldn't audibly say you if I so much as smiled at them. Sometimes if I just made a contact. It was debilitating for my fragile teenage psyche and extremely humiliating and emasculating. I couldn't even get my friend girls to hook me up with any of their friends. My teenage personality didn't help anything. I was one of those attention-seeking loud kids who made horrible jokes and hoped people would laugh with me instead of at me for once. Seriously. I was a fucking greasy, pimply, fat, loudmouthed little troglodyte. That was my life for 3 years, from age 12 through age 15, a social outcast, a dweeb, a dork, a loser throwing all of them at me because there ain't nothing new. When I started my first semester of my sophomore year in high school, I was taking smart kid trig. There was a jock in my class, a kid named Jay who wasn't really smart enough to be in the smart kid classes but was probably too smart for the regular classes. So here he was, struggling along with things I found easier than a tutorial level in video games. Through some twist of fate or good fortune, or most likely because our last names start with the same first two letters. Jay sat behind me in that trig class. Jay wasn't above cheating and I wasn't above whoring out my brains for a pretend friend. So we got along like cupcakes and frosting about a month into the semester. Jay asked me, "Hey optical delusions, have you ever had a girlfriend?" Up until this point, Jay and I had never talked about anything other than how awesome he was at everything, which was really more Jay talking and me nodding along or trig. I didn't really know how to respond. I mean, I obviously hadn't had a girlfriend, but that's not the kind of information you let out easily when you're on the bottom tier of the high school food chain. And no, girls don't really like me. I squeaked out, trying to keep my normally loud voice hushed to a whisper without cracking. Puberty is the effing worst, dude. When do you get those braces off? Jay was staring at my face, judging every crack, every pockmark, every pimple, everything. I could feel it, but it didn't feel the same as when the pretty girls would do it. He wasn't reeling in horror for starters, and he seemed to be inspecting me instead of rejecting me in about a month. But then I have to get retainers and depending on how my palate expander worked. Don't talk about your braces and shit. No one cares. I never did know when to shut up. Oh right. Ha 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 ha. Sorry, Jay. My already red from the acne and topical creams, my face turning a shade of beet. I was overcompensating for oversharing. I was really awkward. Can you get a ride home an hour after school ends? His inquiry seemed earnest and didn't feel like he was going to tie me to the flagpole or give me an atomic wedgie. It felt like he wanted to help. I probably can. Yeah. Why come to the weight room with me after school? The football team does weight training and we're allowed to bring in one underclassman outsider to try out for a couple weeks. If you make it, you can try out for the squad next year. I don't know how to work out, Jay. The forced grin had disappeared from my face, replaced by half-rounded dejection, knowing full well that I could barely lift myself up on the chin-up bar more than twice. I wasn't going to fare well in the weight room with kids twice my size. Don't worry dude, I got you, and he slapped me on the back hard enough to half knock the wind out of me. I smiled at him, not forced. This time it felt real. All of it felt real. Over the next year I got the braces off, cut my shitty hair, and hit the gym so fucking hard that I went from 150 pounds of squishy preteen flub to 165 pounds of rock fucking solid muscle and under 10% body fat or some poop. The jocks started giving me high fives in the halls. I was dubbed the leprechaun.